chair today?
I am our chair today.
I wouldn't take it personally, Shirley.
Oh, I wouldn't. Absolutely not. Hi, Latasha.
There we are.
Yeah, got one more.
How many do we need to make it a meeting?
We need 5.
5?
No, Eileen Rhodes is coming too. She said she might be a little bit late.
Chris Wheat.
We have Commissioner Cox.
Mhm.
Tech support, can you turn on your camera and say hello?
Yes, one moment.
Well, we at least have a quorum.
Bob.
Yes?
Hi.
Commissioner?
When do you think we're going to go live?
Shortly, Commissioner.
And all right, I'm just wolfing down my last forks of food.
Okay.
Well, you can turn your camera off.
Thank you. Thank you.
If we hear a we'll know that that's you saying aye.
Okay.
I think I have us and Mark Brooks. Wheat, Curtis. Thomas, Cox, Buford. I think we can go now.
Yes, we could start if you, yes.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the September 14, 2021 regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I am Shirley Newsom, the Vice Chair of the CDC and the host of today's virtual meeting, as Chairman Butler was unable to attend today's meeting. On August 2021, Governor Pritzker issued an executive order renewing his proclamation that all counties in the state of Illinois are a disaster area. Section 7 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act allows the CDC, along with other city boards and commissions, to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of these conditions is that the chair of this commission determines that an in-person meeting on the scheduled meeting date would not be practical or prudent. To ensure that today's virtual meeting meets all conditions of the Open Meetings Act, I am hereby making the determination pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Act that due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, an in-person meeting would not have been practical or prudent today. Therefore, in accordance with the Commission's emergency rules, this meeting is being held virtually on Zoom and can be viewed live via the Commission's website. A court reporter is present today to record the proceedings. Commissioners, you have all been designated as panelists, which means that you will be able to control your microphone. Please remember to place your microphone on mute unless you need to speak. If you want to be recognized by the chair, please activate the raise your hand feature and you will be called in order. You may also approach the chairperson and announce yourself. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on September 8, 2021, both online at the CDC's website and physically in City Hall. I will now begin the meeting with a call of the roll. Commissioners, when your name is called, please turn your microphone on, respond by saying present, and please also, if you will indicate that you can hear me okay. Commissioner Brooks.
Present, and I can hear you okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Buford.
Present, and I can hear you fine.
Commissioner Cepeda. Commissioner Cox.
Present, and I can hear you and see you.
Commissioner Curtis.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Thomas.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Wheat.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Butler is absent. Vice Chair Newsom is present. And we have a quorum for the conduct of business today. The first item on our agenda requests approval of the minutes from our previous meeting held on August 5th, 2021. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if there are no corrections, I am looking for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
So move, Commissioner Brooks.
Moved by Commissioner Brooks. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Thomas.
Seconded by Commissioner Thomas. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each item can be identified and recorded. Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford.
Yes,
You should have stated not present. Commissioner Cox.
Yes,
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes,
Commissioner Davis, not present. Commissioner Griggs, present. Commissioner Rhodes, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Newsom votes yes. The motion passes. The public was given an opportunity to provide written comments up to 24 hours prior to the start of this meeting through the CDC email address, cdc@cityofchicago.org. There were no written comments in the CDC mailbox for today's meeting. The CDC's emergency rules require that any member of the public wishing to comment on an agenda item could do so by registering in advance at the CDC's mailbox up to 24 hours before the start of today's meeting. No members of the public signed up to speak at this meeting. At this point, we are going to go into our new business for today. And for our first item of new business, Brian O'Donnell from the Department of Housing will give a presentation on the department's intention to use TIF funds for environmental remediation and site preparation of 100 city-owned lots in North and South Lawndale. The remediated parcels are intended to be used as the future site of an affordable housing development. As the use of TIF funds to improve city-owned property does not come under the review authority of the CDC, Brian's presentation is intended to inform the CDC only. And while commissioners are welcome to ask questions, no vote will be taken on this item. Brian, you may begin your presentation whenever you are ready.
I am ready. Thank you and good afternoon, Vice Chair Newsom and Commissioner.
Afternoon.
For the record, my name is Brian O'Donnell, representing the Home Ownership Bureau of the Department of Housing. Also present online today are Kimberly Worthington, AIS Deputy Commissioner, Heidi Keller, AIS Environmental Engineer, and David Doig, President of Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives, or CNI. As Vice Chair Newsom just said, today's presentation is informational only. No resolution will be offered for a vote because the city will be spending TIF money on city-owned land for a project with a public benefit. Nevertheless, we want to be transparent about the use of TIF dollars. In June, this body approved the sale of 100 lots to build affordable homes, mostly in North Lawndale. The presentation today is related to the preparation and environmental remediation of those lots, so that when we convey a lot to the developer, it is ready for construction of a home, like one of these pictured. This is a new approach to affordable housing development in Chicago. It is an approach about which the Department of Housing is excited. The Reclaiming Chicago Housing Initiative is launching in the 24th Ward, where the alderman is Michael Scott Jr. There are two TIFs from which funds will be drawn for their proposed work, the Midwest and the Ogden-Pulaski TIFs. The total amount is 5.3 million, and you can see the breakout between the two there. As a refresher, this map shows the location of the lots where the site preparation and environmental remediation work will be performed by CNI on behalf of the city. This non-exhaustive list contains the major project-related expenses that can be funded with TIF. The second bullet point, the engineered barrier, would be the foundation of the house when environmental conditions require such a barrier. All lots will receive site work that includes excavation and haul off, water and sewer work, foundations, and right-of-way restoration. The financial structure section on page 3 of your staff report was an attempt to model projected costs with lots falling into one of 3 categories. No remediation needed, remediation work to be overseen by the city, and remediation that is typically enrolled in the Illinois EPA site remediation program. You can see the costs vary greatly depending on the extent of soil contamination. In its work of site prep and remediation, CNI will comply with Chicago's requirements on MBE and WBE contract participation, with the requirements of Chicago City Residency Ordinance, and with the requirements that all construction jobs are paid the prevailing wage. This is a timeline for both aspects of the residential development. Dates in green relate to this presentation. Here again are the two home types to be built and prepped on the prepped and remediated lots. The home on the left is a standard construction type home. On the right is a modular home. And that concludes the presentation.
Mr. O'Donnell, this is Commissioner Cox. Can you just end on the images of the two infill houses? Thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes. Is there a member of Alderman Michael Scott or Alderman Michael Scott present and would like to have remarks? If not, again, no written statements from the public have been timely submitted on this matter, and no members of the public timely signed up to speak on this matter. At this time, I will entertain questions or comments from the commissioners. Do we have any questions or comments?
Madam Chairman, this is Curtis,
Yes,
Commissioner Curtis.
Commissioner. Curtis.
I'm just questioning, do I understand that there are 27 lots that are making up the 5.3 million?
No, so the development is 100 lots.
But there are 27 that need environmental remediation?
No, there were 27 at one point that needed no remediation, but still need site prep work.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Thank you, much better.
Sure.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or comments from commissioners?
Madam Chairman, it's Latasha Thomas.
Yes, Commissioner.
The plan that we approved in June, was that for 250 city lots for 1,000 homes? Is that
It was the first tranche. 1,000 homes is the big plan. I believe you first approved 100 lots.
100 of the 250 lots?
Yes.
Okay.
Any additional questions or comments from commissioners?
This is Commissioner Cox.
Commissioner Cox?
Yes, I mean, thank you, Mr. O'Donnell and the Housing Department for bringing this forward. I think there are a few things that I think are revealed here, which is probably helpful for the commission to see, because we have the city, the planning department specifically manages the sales of city-owned lots, and we have a lot of them in the thousands. We don't have a lot of them that are clean. So while we have an enormous inventory, the pipeline of lots that get in the hands of developers who can build homes and make these contributing to our taxes and our real estate of the city, there's a really long and arduous journey of getting these lots prepared for sale. And I think the chart, I think it was slide 6, underscores just how much it costs to clean a lot, to then put an affordable housing on it that then has to sell at a value that is accessible to those who are desiring home ownership. So the numbers are working against us. The environmental cost is working against us. But I think that we are at a pivot point where with appropriate resources that are coming from the federal government, and I'm speaking specifically about the American Rescue Plan dollars, of which we have asked for millions to be able to go in and clean up these lots, and other resources that are not TIF dependent that the administration is looking at. I think we will be looking at moving not dozens of lots into redevelopment, but hundreds of lots. But they will come at a significant price tag. So I just appreciate the housing department going out and trying to estimate and project what these are going to cost. It's not an exact science. We don't know how dirty some of them will be and which of these three columns are going to be called on. But this is about as close as I've seen since I've been here, where Department of Housing is really trying to quantify the cost, so much so that they can allocate a TIF request before the work is done. So I think that's what we're seeing. And I don't think it's going to be a one-off. I think it's going to be the beginning of what we hope to be moving many more of these lots into hands of community developers that can redevelop them for us. So just a little bit of context.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Are there any other questions of commissioners at this time? If there are no further questions, I want to thank you, Brian, and we will now move on to the next agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Newsom.
Let me let's see.
All right, let me know if everyone can see my PowerPoint slide.
Okay. Then whenever you're ready.
Great. So good afternoon, Vice Chair Newsom and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Jim O'Connell, and I'm an underwriter with the Department of Housing's multifamily finance team. I'm here today to present conservatory apartments located at 414 North Central Park Avenue in the Humboldt Park community area, 27th Ward, with Walter Burnett Jr. as alderman. Alderpersons Burnett, Mitz, and Irvin are aware of the project and have been notified as this progresses through TIC and on to CDC. So here's the project's location. It's a lot located between Central Park Boulevard and Monticello Avenue. The redevelopment involves the new construction of 43 SRO apartments on vacant land that formerly was used as a parking lot for Laura Wood School, which was closed. I'm sorry? Okay, which was closed by the Chicago Board of Education in 2013. Directly south of the railroad embankment is the Garfield Park Conservatory, hence the name of the project. There's a number of transit options for residents, principally CTA Conservatory Green Line Station, which is located 2 blocks south along Central Park Avenue. And for site context, here's a view looking southeast from Monticello with the former high school to the right, former school to the right, and that car driving by is on Central Park Avenue. So conservatory came through DOH's 2019 round, and while well received, ultimately was not chosen due to other funding priorities that year. They have since applied to IDA's funding round, where they received $6.9 million in federal trust funds and are now back with a TIF request not to exceed $3.5 million. The project will be a 4-story new construction building comprised entirely of studios with a deep affordability skew. 22 units will be at 30% AMI, with the remaining 21 at 50% AMI. And the project is partnering with the nonprofit Deborah's Place to provide permanent supportive housing. So we'll serve homeless individuals with chronic disabilities, as well as individuals from the Illinois State Referral Network. Deborah's Place will have an assigned case manager who conduct program intake and initial assessment, ongoing assessment of needs and strengths for each resident, comprehensive goal plans, linkage to resources, assistance in obtaining benefits and or employment, counseling, advocacy, transportation, and crisis intervention. As an interesting note, the project will meet all of the passive house requirements, meaning it will contain a very small heating plant and air conditioning plant due to an airtight design, decreasing the building's reliance on fossil fuels, and it will be certified by the Passive Housing Institute. This will be one of the few in the city, if I'm not mistaken, at least within DOH's portfolio. There's no commercial component, but other features include ground floor property management, social service offices, central laundry, a bike room, as well as a community garden. So the owner and developer is a project-specific entity named Conservatory Apartments LLC, but in effect, it's Interfaith Housing Development Corporation with Perry Vietti acting as PM. The general contractor is still TBD at this point, but they are in the process of bidding out to 3 separate entities, which is DOH policy. And per the developer, one of the GCs they are reaching out to is an MBE firm. As required, the developer has submitted MBE and WBE solicitation letters to minority associations, letting them know of the project and welcoming them to bid. So far as community engagement goes, the developer hosted a virtual meeting with neighbors in late August, and a second meeting was held yesterday on September 13th. But a great deal of the community engagement occurs via Deborah's Place. They have regular meetings with community groups, such as the Garfield Park Coalition for Sustainability and Affordability and the Community Advisory Council. And also Alderman Burnett is supportive of the project. So here's the capital stack with sources on the left and uses on the right. Please let me know if you have any questions. Their operational costs are in line with DOH expectations, and per unit construction costs are favorable to DOH standards. The project does need to close by this December though. Otherwise it jeopardizes half of IDA's 6.9 million in committed funding. So IDA again is using federal trust fund dollars, of which half need to be committed to a project with construction start before December 31st. The TIF not to exceed amount comes in at 3.5 or 29% TDC. And we are aware it goes above the preferred limit of 20%. But there are a couple strong cases for this. The first is, DOH simply cannot use home, CDBG, or AHOF funding, because that would have required the project to come through our QAP round. And we're not projected to announce the awardees until mid to late December or early to mid December. So it would not have been feasible to close this project in time without, losing IDA funding. And secondly, it's the AMI population served with incomes that low and no outside. With incomes that low, you simply can't charge higher rents. So the developer can't take on a larger first mortgage since cash flow to repay is limited. And to continue on with financing, the current TIF ask is below the estimated 5.2 million in eligibles. And since the developer will adhere to MBE, WBE, and city residency requirements, there's an estimated minority and female participation minimum of 2.8 million and 650,000 respectively. And here's the breakout of the units mentioned on the project summary slide. Again, you'll note the deep affordability skew. And just for context, an individual at 30% AMI makes $19,600 a year, and someone at 50% AMI is $32,650. And finally, here's the latest rendering, which DPD has recently signed off on, and which the developers begin to bid out. That concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Commissioners, for the record, Mr. James O'Connell, also from the Department of Housing, is requesting that the CDC give authority for the Department of Housing to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Conservatory Apartments LLC or an affiliated entity to develop property located at 414 North Central Park Avenue in the Chicago/Central Park Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area. And to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Conservatory Apartments LLC or an affiliated entity as the developer. At this time, what I'd like to do is ask if Alderman Walter Barnett or a representative is present and would like to have comments on this project. If not, we will proceed to questions from the commissioners. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Alderman Latasha, Commissioner Latasha Thomas. Oh, that was more than 6 years ago.
Yes, it was.
I have some questions.
Okay.
The
Proceed.
first one is, we have Alderman Burnett's approval of this somewhere.
Yes, correct. His letter of support was included in the CDC package.
Okay. I'll take a look at it again because I didn't think I saw it.
If not, I can absolutely forward that.
Is
Chair.
it in the packet that, your presentation packet?
It should have been. Let me see.
Let me just ask, Jim, do you have it handy to share possibly?
Yeah, let me pull it up right now. 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, internet's a little slow when you're streaming.
Understand.
That was supposed to be the easiest question for me.
I know, I'm worried.
I think it's on page 33 of
There you
the
go.
full package.
There we go.
Are you able to see that?
Yes, we are.
Got it.
Okay.
Thanks, Commissioner Wheat. My other question, maybe that's in the packet too, and I just moved through it too fast, is the MBE and WBE organizations that you sent, that the developer sent information on for bids. Do you know if any of them responded? Because that was July.
I do not have that answer if they responded, whether or not they intend to bid. I think all but one, the developer was able to get a certified mail receipt from notifying that they received the package, which is what we required in our package as well.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. I see the receipt. I'm just wondering if there's any interest from the MBEs and WBEs, if is the developer here?
The developer is here. If the commission is not opposed to it, he would be able to answer that question.
Madam Chairman, I think that's who would be best to answer whether.
So
We'll
tech
open the
support,
floor.
that'd be Perry Vietti.
We'll open the floor, and if the panelists will identify themselves for the record.
Items that have a longer lead time. So we, at the outset, when you start on these transactions, please get in your phase 1 and 2.
Jim, who
I
is-
no longer see Perry Vietti on the call, I'm afraid.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, there we go.
I apologize. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Newsom and Commissioners. This is Perry Vietti, President of Interfaith Housing. Let's see, have I already forgot your question? It relates to the MBE, correct? So we bid out we don't have construction drawings yet. We have initial drawings, and it was bid out to 3 general contractors. Ujama is one of the 3 that is MBE, and I expect to get a packet from them by Friday of this week.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Thomas?
city of Chicago, like Sharon Pickens said.
Commissioner Thomas,
Okay,
did that answer the question?
kind of. It seemed like he was competing with somebody else talking over line, so I didn't hear him clearly.
That is correct. I'm going to ask that all other panelists, commissioners, please, if you'll mute your phones or your computers, then Mr. Perry, would you please repeat your prior comment?
Sure. I'm sorry about that. So we bid the initial set of architectural drawings to 3 contractors, one of which is an MBE, and that MBE is Ujama Construction.
Okay.
It's an organization that has just completed a building for us in West Englewood.
I know them well. So that's great. That wasn't my question, but that's great information. My question was, had you gotten any responses from the letters that you sent out to the WBE or MBE organizations?
Other than the receipts that come back, there was one conversation I had with the gentleman from, I believe is it African American Contractors United. So we had a lengthy conversation, and he talked about how he subbed with some of the, some of the subs that work with him has worked with McShane Construction is one of the organizations that we bid it out to, and then Henry Brothers is the other. So we had an initial conversation, but that's the only one.
Thank you. My last question is more of a comment for Commissioner Cox, and maybe talk with his colleague at Housing about how we can get these organizations to do more than, I mean, it's not really clear who received the letters, probably some secretary or somebody in the office, but if you're not getting any good responses from any of these contractors in the organizations, then it's just a check mark. It's something to think about. I'm not criticizing Jim or anybody. It's just what I'm hearing is the letters went out as required. They came back, somebody accepted it. But the true response is coming from somewhere else.
Madam Chair, I mean,
Yes.
I would, I think the point about, what proactively can be done on the part of the developer to not only make available the opportunity, but to, promote and solicit their participation. I think that's a fair comment. And I don't know within the capacity of the housing department or the planning department to more aggressively bring them to the table from a regulatory perspective in terms of what more can we assure that they do versus what is voluntary. I think that's a conversation that is certainly worth having. I can't really speak for DOH, but I meet regularly with Commissioner Navarra, and I will bring it to her attention because I do think there's a difference between checking a box and actively soliciting diverse respondents. But again, other than encouraging, I'd be curious, what the city, what incentives the city actually has to do to go beyond encouragement.
Yeah, I'm putting it out there. If you all want to talk to me, on the side note about it, I may have some thoughts, but I just bring it up because it for me it's just a check mark right now. Thank you, Commissioner Cox.
And thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Are there any other questions or comments on the part of our commissioners?
Question from Commissioner Wheat.
Okay. Commissioner Wheat?
And I guess this is, I'm not sure this question either for staff or for the developer. So first, with respect to timeline, the staff report included a statement that construction needed to start before the end of the year due to the state loan. Can you walk through the construction timeline and what potential risk is this that you will not be able to break ground before 12/31?
Yeah, absolutely. So today is the deadline for our package for October council introduction. And I mean that to say, should we have a favorable outcome from CDC today, we will submit our package. We will then intro in October session, come out in November session, and then typically a closing timeline to go through loan agreements, regulatory agreements, TIF RDAs, all that. It's about 2 months. So we're going to really be pushing it to close by December 31st. I spoke with IDA, and my understanding is, if this should not close by 12/31, IDA will have money to fill in that second half. Half of the federal funds have to be in for building that starts construction by 12/31. Worst case, they would be able to provide other funds. So there will not be a hole in the budget, but as a related agency, we always try to do everything we can to make sure that they're not, because I mean, if they have to then substitute with other funds, that's to the detriment of other projects in their pipeline. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure construction starts by 12/31.
Commissioner Wheat, did that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, and Madam Chair, one additional question, if I may. In the staff report, there is a mention of passive house design on the project as well. And I guess 2 questions related to that is one, I'm just curious for the motivation behind passive house design for this project. And then secondly, what does that design do to the costs? I've seen passive house, at least in the Chicagoland area, more for single family homes and not as much for apartments.
Yeah, absolutely. So when submitting to IDA's round, IDA has a scoring system, unlike Department of Housing, and a project receives additional points if they do passive housing. So this made it more marketable to IDA, as well as the long-term OpEx of the budget. If you have less heating and air costs over time, you can support more debt and you can support lower rents. So it helps the long-term affordability and maintenance of the building. I would have to assume upfront costs are higher. I would leave it to Perry, if it's okay, to explain what the delta would be. If this were not passive house, how much less this project would cost.
Well, I think passive house, at least in this area, is somewhat in its infancy.
Mr. Perry, would you please re-identify yourself?
I apologize.
For the record, thank you.
Eddie, President of Interfaith Housing Development Corporation. So there's certainly debates about whether passive house is less costly or not. You're putting a lot of money into the skin of the building to have a super tight envelope so the building doesn't leak. And so that costs more money. But on the other side, you have a smaller heating and air conditioning plant because the building's going to need less, created heat and air conditioned air. So, you talk to contractors, they say it's more expensive. You talk to architects, they say it's not. I don't think the delta is very clear with multifamily, at least around here. I think in our budget, it's probably, at least from what the initial contractor bid that I got, about a 7% delta from what it would be if we just did a full conventional with, the normal insulation that is standard in Chicago today.
Thank you for that. And maybe just one other note for Commissioner Cox. I know that there's been some work happening in the mayor's office and with outside stakeholders on a building decarbonization plan for the city and identifying projects that would that are intentionally designed around a reduction in carbon footprint, especially in terms of energy use. And so this would probably be a good project to highlight for that working group as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for highlighting that.
Commissioners, do we have any additional questions? If there are no further questions or comments, I will call the item to a vote. The resolution before us requests the CDC's authority and approval to allow the Department of Housing to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Conservatory Apartments LLC or an affiliated entity to redevelop property located at 414 North Central Park Avenue in the Chicago Central Park Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Conservatory Apartments LLC or an affiliated entity as developer. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Wheat.
Motioned by Commissioner Wheat. Is there a second?
Second. Bob Buford.
Seconded by Commissioner Buford. At this time, I will now call the roll. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Please signify your vote of approval on the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda is not present. Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis is not present. Commissioner Briggs is not present. Commissioner Rhodes.
Yes.
For the record, please note that Commissioner Rhodes is present. Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler is not present, and Vice Chair Commissioner Newsom votes yes. I have 4, 7, 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
O'Connell. Thank you, Mr. Peter. Thank you, commissioners. At this time, I would like to request a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Curtis.
Moved by Commissioner Curtis. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Brooks.
Seconded by Commissioner Brooks. All in favor signify by saying aye or yes.
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 Anyone opposed may say no. No one opposed. The yeas have it, and this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, commissioners, for your presence and your participation. Thank you to staff. And at this time, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.